So the race is on to capture the liquidity of the next generation financial system. And transformation, that's the word that marks the pivotal moment in the evolution of the XRP ledger as it undergoes a major transformation due to technological enhancements and new features. 2024 is poised to be the year of transformation, a milestone that marks a significant inflection point in the evolution of the XRPL, XRP, and the community. The biggest breakthrough in 2024 will be pioneering compliance for decentralized finance. So that's what she's saying is the biggest breakthrough is how do we get compliance with decentralized finance?
AMMs will harvest volatility for yield. Volatility will drive market makers, which the AMM makes a spread, right? It takes a movement in price to really drive that volume. And of course, volatility increases arbitrage or profits because the AMM gets more out of balance more, and the AMM gets a cut of those profits through the auction mechanism.
So this could really turn the volatility of a digital asset from a downside to an upside. Super excited about it.
Automated market makers on the XRP ledger could be a game changer, uniquely positioning it to leapfrog other DEXs.
And it'll be bolstered by incentive programs.
So the fact that the XRP ledger fees are lower is going to mean more of that money that would go to arbitrageurs stays with the people who are staking the pool. And that's what you want, because if people don't stake the pool, there's no liquidity. You want the stakers to reap the rewards of their staking so that there will be these deep pools of liquidity. And then with the mechanism that we're working on that will allow the pool to recapture much of the profits that the arbitrage makes, almost as if the pool were arbitraging against itself, we're hopeful that that will incentivize very, very deep pools of liquidity on the XRP ledger that will make movement between tokens very efficient. So that could be, I think that could be a game changer.
And it'll be bolstered by incentive programs.
Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. Since winning this case, we have the opportunity now, but the community is not fully aware of what's coming, and it's a little different from what many have expected, and it's going to take some time to adjust to that. So I'm trying to prepare everybody for what's coming. It's right around the corner. We are going to see significant changes as the next cycle approaches. Tokenization will converge with DeFi, and that's crypto's best chance at mainstream adoption into the financial markets. And every single bank and asset manager has teams of 20 to 500 people working on tokenization. And we are tokenizing the liquidity. That's what the LP token is, tokenizing the liquidity. RippleX 2024, a visionary outlook into the future of blockchain. As the year draws to a close, RippleX stands at the forefront of innovation, ready to propel the blockchain industry into new realms of possibility. Well, as we approach the new year, David Schwartz has decided to set his own predictions, and he's tapped into the minds of some of their leading experts. Senior Vice President of RippleX, Marcus Infanger, and Head of Research, Anchala Malhotra, to bring you a glimpse into the future of blockchain. Industry sentiment is visibly shifting, and excitement is building, and many left wondering what the future holds, with the dawn of artificial intelligence establishing itself as an important checkpoint in the tech industry. Over the past year, real-world assets are becoming a significant focus for adoption. Security remains a key concern. There's a lot of ground to cover. We're going to watch a couple clips from that he's talked about recently about these in recent interviews with Tony from Think Crypto, also on the Block Stars, and also another interview, just to really get a feel of what he's talking about here with these predictions.
What are you and the folks at Ripple looking at from a use case standpoint? What are you thinking about for the next future?
Well, so I'll give you the short version, and you can dig into any of them that you're particularly interested in. One of them is real-world asset tokenization, things like tokenized securities, things like tokenized carbon credits, those kinds of things. Another one is the convergence of AI and blockchain. As far as things like making blockchain safer, making it easier to develop smart contracts, making it easier for users to understand how to use, blockchain products, and perhaps blockchain providing some of the functions for AI safety and security. That's changing very rapidly, though, so it's kind of hard to say there. So another one is decentralized identity, sort of making the way for enterprise DeFi. One of the biggest blockers for sort of enterprise adoption to DeFi right now is the fact that there's no sanction screening capability. So like you could receive money from a terrorist, you could send money to a terrorist. Technologies like DID will make it possible to have sort of compliance on public blockchains, which is something that like we've never had. It would be opt-in. You don't have to comply if you don't want to, or it could be that you have separate blockchains that are specifically screened for particular sanctions regimes. But that's going to allow a type of institutional adoption that currently is just not possible. Another big one is interoperability, movement of assets and information. There is no blockchain there's no layer one blockchain that's going to be able to provide what everybody wants. It's just not possible. Right. And so it's not going to be scalable. So getting that scalability through interoperability, and then people being able to innovate at the blockchain layer. So like if you want to build a smart contract on Ethereum, you're stuck with Ethereum's fee structure and its resource structure. And if your project fits within that, great. But if it doesn't, there's virtually nothing you can do. Whereas if you could innovate at the blockchain layer, you could create blockchains that had different fee structures or different capabilities, storage, you could draw different balances, and that would allow you to do things that are currently not possible. Like if you want to build a decentralized exchange that can support high frequency trading like centralized exchanges can, you're not going to build it. You can't build it on Ethereum. Like you have to, right? That's not what Ethereum does. You can't build it on really any current. So that interoperability. And then the last one is the evolution of stablecoins and CBDCs. I think their impact on global finance. I think in the next 2 years, you're going to see new foreign exchange corridors, probably reduce dependence on the US dollar, particularly in areas like the Middle East, where they're very, very incentivized to not have the sort of US and EU regulatory and surveillance thumb.
But why are these important? Because they're not just predictions. And how do we know that? So I'm going to skip to the very last paragraph of this. I'm going to put the blog post in the description below, because this kind of went under the radar, and I don't think many people saw it. The stage is set for a transformative year for RippleX in 2024, and these predictions from our experts showcase the team's excitement for what lays ahead. Stay tuned as we embark on a journey to shape the future of the industry. RippleX is not solely predicting the future, the team is creating it. So these are not predictions, ladies and gentlemen. These are what they are building. And yes, they do fall in line with the trends that are happening in the industry. This year, more than ever, there were about 10 different, reports released, from Fidelity to Masari to Galaxy Digital, to Gemini, to Coinbase, release these reports, and they give you an idea of the industry trends. And, even if you just read one of them, it's worth it because you should keep up with the trends in the industry and not stay stuck in our echo chamber. And that's why the community discussion is very shallow on a lot of topics, because there's a lack of understanding of what is the broader trends. Now, what we talk about here, these are what they're building. So this is not just about payments, and this is not just about riding the coattails of Ripples. This is a major enhancements coming to the XRP ledger, a convergence of new technologies like AI, but understanding that at the heart of all of this, it's not even just the AMM. And this is probably the biggest takeaway, and it's why I named the channel the DeFi Standard. The lack of community awareness of DeFi is at the heart of everything. David Schwartz is saying institutional DeFi over and over and over. Nobody talks about it. Why? Well, Monica Long says here, I think is pretty profound. The biggest breakthrough in 2024 will be pioneering compliance for decentralized finance. The biggest breakthrough in 2024 will be pioneering compliance for decentralized finance. So that's what she's saying is the biggest breakthrough is how do we get compliance with decentralized finance? Once that can be accomplished, that's going to drive a tremendous amount of institutional value. So that's what she's saying is the biggest breakthrough is how do we get compliance with decentralized finance? Once that can be accomplished, that's going to drive a tremendous amount of institutional value. So in 2024, she says, crypto will break the speculative hype cycles that have defined the booms and busts for the industry since Bitcoin's invention before the next crypto summer. So she's predicting that the whole speculative up we go, up alt season, up, crash down, back to winter is going to get broken. That's what she's saying in that statement there. So the convergence of AI and blockchain. And if you're wondering what the possibilities are that lay ahead for the convergence of AI and blockchain tech, David Schwartz believes this convergence could be set to transform how we approach cybersecurity and financial services. With a security as a key concern for many builders, AI will simplify the building experience on the blockchain, and AI will be pivotal, making blockchain safer and more reliable. Oh, they're building a chatbot for basically developers on the XRP ledger.
And one thing that I'm really excited about is our project in the pipeline. That is, we are building an AI chatbot for the developers to be able to directly query rather than rambling through all the documentation and client libraries. They can direct their question to this AI chatbot and get an instant answer. And that makes the life of developers really, really easier. It shortens the time from having an idea to building the application to really small.
And that's just going to be the start. And AI will be pivotal, making blockchain safer and more reliable. And then you're going to see that move to learning on the XRP ledger. Then it's going to come into financial strategies on the XRP ledger. Then it's going to come into strategies on DeFi. It's going to take data into account. And we're going to go from being early pioneers in this new DeFi ecosystem being built on the XRP ledger based on the AMM, which is foundational. And its innovative capabilities could go on to revolutionize the finance industry on chain. And that's another theme that underpins all of this, is that the focus is on chain finance. Let go of the disconnect with RippleNet as this separate entity thing. That's all integrating into the ledger. Telling you right now.
For the past decade, we are perhaps best known for having built a global cross-border payments and messaging infrastructure network. That network is active across 120 some odd currency pairs with 300 regulated financial institutions, currently moving billions of dollars globally. We built that network on the XRP ledger. The XRP ledger is a public permissionless blockchain. We built that network on the XRP ledger. The XRP ledger is a public permissionless blockchain. It's been in production for a decade. We've taken that solution, that ledger, and we've architected a private version of that public ledger. And that forms the base of our CBDC platform. On top of that ledger, we've built a series of applications for different stakeholders in the CBDC ecosystem. So that's what we've built.
So we need to change, we need to fundamentally change how we think. And following this video, there's going to be a series of videos that are going to cover the disruptions and the topics in the community specifically, and will hopefully get across what is going on and what to focus on, because there's far too much attention on unnecessary topics. So next, stablecoins revolutionizing the currency landscape. Stablecoins could be set to dramatically reshape global finance, creating new foreign exchange corridors and reducing the dependence on the US dollar. I see this transformation perhaps the most evident in the Middle East. And that's interesting because he says this twice in two of his videos, which we're going to listen to right here, about how he talks about stablecoins.
Let's talk about stablecoins. So I think the year ahead could be a big one with regard to stablecoins. Stablecoins could reshape global finance, create foreign exchange corridors, reduce dependence on the US dollar. And I think that reduction of traditional currency dependencies and a more diversified and resilient financial ecosystem really could be enabled by a healthy and robust stablecoin ecosystem.
You do have some investment in CBDCs, but when are you going to move into stablecoins?
Yes.
When?
Yes. Look, I think the stablecoin market is fascinating. Ripple at our core, we are a payments infrastructure company. We use stablecoins today. We use XRP when it's appropriate. We use stablecoins when it's appropriate. We're solving customer problems. Will we do or say more than that? Not today.
And then he goes on to talk about Marcus Infranger's strategic insights on unleashing the power of tokenization and real-world assets. As the industry continued to grow, real-world assets have remained somewhat of a buzzword, leading many to believe that it's simply a trend for investors to speculate on. That's absolutely not true. So he disagrees too. RWAs are a driving force right now on the blockchain economy, with real estate, commodities, treasuries, and bonds being the leading use cases. There's almost $1 billion in tokenized treasuries, and every single bank you heard and asset managers all working on tokenization, tokenized fiat and tokenized assets. You need tokenized fiat to settle them. No, XRP is not going to settle everything. It doesn't have to. His estimation is that CeFi platforms and lending will increase the use of tokenized RWAs for collateralized loans, enhancing lending with increased security and efficiency. As the industry improves in terms of interoperability among blockchains, we may well see smoother transactions and better liquidity for these tokenized assets. The most significant impact of this will be seen by institutional adoption of RWA tokenization. This shift could see the merging of traditional finance and blockchain tech, attracting new investment and reshaping the financial sector. What has Larry Fink went on TV and said? All securities will be tokenized. And that's why I find it pretty funny that the whole community is talking about Ripple IPO. Meanwhile, nobody's talking about why would they do a legacy IPO? Tokenizing everything. That is their business model. That is what the ledger is built to do. Why would you do a legacy IPO? So great to see Brad Garlinghouse go out on Davos and say, no, we're not doing an IPO. We have no reason to do an IPO. They're going to tokenize their equity.
Because it is not an immediate term priority to go public. Shareholder liquidity is important to me. We have investors that first invested in Ripple in 2012. So we want to provide that liquidity, which is one of the reasons why we've done these tender offers and now repurchased just over $1 billion of stock. But honestly, a lot of people go public because they need to raise capital.
Yeah.
Ripple's not really in a place where we need to raise capital. And so it is not a short-term priority.
It's not IPO. He shot that down at Davos pretty hard, really hard, actually. But it's simple. They're going to tokenize their equity, private equity. I'm not saying it's going to be this month or this year even, but that's where that's headed at some point in the future. That's where this is all going. And he says XRP Ledger will be a leading blockchain that will enable these use cases and streamline transactions and enhance transparency and increase access to these critical markets. So we know the ledger has built-in issuance, but what else does it have that's very powerful? Not even just getting the AMMs, it has an order book. So by having that order book built in and the AMM pools, it makes it the ultimate value exchange, because these real-world assets aren't going to trade on Coinbase. Everything is moving on chain, and you are more than simply invested in a token. So, because I know some people are saying, well, what does it matter about real-world assets? What does it have to do with XRP? You're not invested in a token. You're invested in a network and a protocol. That's the truth. That asset does not exist without the network and the protocols. It has no utility by itself. None. Zero. So who is Marcus Infranger? 20 years in the banking and leading global teams in foreign exchange. David Schwartz reached out to his colleague and for his view on what lies ahead for real-world assets and institutional adoption. Marcus outlined his belief that we will see new infrastructure focusing on backward integration with legacy financial institutions, helping drive change management and increasing adoption of blockchain. For example, Marcus sees the expanding use of smart contracts and tokenization on the XRPL and other blockchains being key. The tokenizing of conventional assets such as bonds, equities, real estate, funds, and various financial products may be the use cases which will allow for traditional finance to tap into crypto technologies.
Tokenization of real-world assets and democratizing access to the participation in those markets, I think, is very real. Whether that's commercial real estate, and some are working on identity-based solutions and even voting-based solutions. I'm certainly not an expert on those things, but I think the blockchain-based solutions are here to stay, and I think in the coming years you'll see more and more real-world use cases gaining traction.
As far as trends in the way it's moving, real-world asset tokenization, I think, is something that I'm pretty excited about right now, because that's that's a real problem, and there's real interest from mainstream financial giants like JP Morgan and Bank of America are actively pursuing tokenization of traditional assets. So I think that's an area to watch, and I think that's an area where the XRP ledger is going to excel. like carbon credits are a wild west. There's almost no regulatory oversight of carbon credits, which is bad for like the carbon credit industry that wants legitimacy, but good if you want to build in it because you don't have to solve all those complicated problems to be significantly better than what's already out there. Commodities are kind of in the middle of those two things, right? They're a little bit more regulated than carbon credits, but they're not as crazily regulated as real estate. And again, you can pick, one of the nice things about gold or oil, let's say, is that you can tokenize it anywhere in the world. And that's useful to people around the world. So you have the opposite of the problem with real estate. The problem with real estate is you have to be in the place where people are, where the interested people are. You have the opposite with commodities. You can build your commodities, you can base them in any friendly regulatory regime. And there are friendly regulatory, obviously the US is not one of them, but there are friendly regulatory regimes. Things like loyalty programs and things like that. Also like have a shorter path. And then there's a project in the XRP ledger space called Homecoin, which is trying to build a sort of mortgage-backed stablecoin, which is kind of less complicated than tokenizing real estate, but targets, similar use cases. We're heavily involved in carbon credits and have invested around, or pledged to invest around $100 million on companies like Carbon Cure. So, and we're involved in the EHKD, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority's pilot program. We're the only cryptocurrency, using the XRP ledgers, leveraging the technology is not, the XRP ledger ecosystem is not just a token.
And now for the showstopper paragraph. One of them. There's a couple in here that are really significant that you should take away. Marcus sees innovative DeFi solutions ensuring compliance, such as zero-knowledge proofs, as being particularly important. This strategic approach not only ensures compliance, but establishes a foundation for sustained operational resilience in the face of regulatory change. Marcus believes that an on-chain money market products will see a big surge. And currently, we've seen a 6-fold increase in tokenized U.S. treasuries. And I believe even since this was written a month ago, a couple weeks ago, I think it's near $1 billion in tokenized treasuries. He predicts that it will be up to $5 billion by the end of the year, which is probably conservative.
The total market is 1.4 quadrillion, everything that's ever out there. And if you start looking across any of those asset classes, they're all starting to move on-chain already. And the ease with which we've seen people interested in money market funds, tokenized treasuries, and those types of instruments, the support for stablecoins, when you're talking about replacing cash, when I see DTCC, Euroclear, Clearstream, it only takes one of them to flip onto natively digital, and that's trillions of assets on its own that move. So, tens of trillions, I think we could see. And bearing in mind it's 1.4 quadrillion, this is still a tiny slice of a huge market. 30 to 50 trillion, all on XRPL, all trading on Artex.
Here we go, $50 trillion. 2 years from now, Ripple, Twitter will replay the session.
Business is recognizing the value of transforming physical assets into digital tokens. Yes, you read that correctly. For Marcus, this shift could unlock significant liquidity and open up new avenues for investment and asset management. So why is this important? Because it's been said for a while now, and I know many of you who watch these videos have heard me say this, and it says it directly in that CFA Institute report that the convergence, even in the Enabling the Internet of Value, the book, it says this too. It's a common understood within the industry, in traditional finance and in crypto, the convergence of tokenization and DeFi is what's going to allow crypto to gain mainstream adoption, but also have the value to explode DeFi, because DeFi is limited because it only could work with the assets like native crypto and centralized stablecoins. That limits what you could do. But once you put real world assets in that mix, it just opens everything up. And the composability across networks, across smart contracts, it's going to be that this is the new financial system. I don't know how many other ways to explain it and say it. Forget the central banks. They will adapt to this. Yes, there'll be compliance and there'll be a hybrid approach with certain things. But at the foundational layer, that's why the AMM is such an important amendment, because it provides liquidity to this long tail of assets. So the more real world assets issued, the more liquidity pools, therefore, the more XRP that gets locked up. No, XRP might not be paired to everything, but it will be definitely paired to fiat. And those pools will be very deep. And the deeper they are, the higher the price XRP goes. So Anchala Malhotra's view from the research room. And Anchala plays a crucial role in shaping the team's understanding of emerging technologies. In her role, she drives various company-wide initiatives and collaborates on technical papers aimed at introducing native support for NFTs, AMM, and the decentralized identity on the XRPL. We have to remember, they have the Ubri network. There's over 50 plus universities that are received grants, and they're doing work on the XRP ledger, on DeFi, on AMMs, on all different emerging sectors where it's not just that they're paying them to do this research. The academics in general is exploding. Search the AMM papers on Google Scholar. It's exploding because there's a lot of interest in this from the traditional markets too. So the dawn of decentralized identity. Now, this is something, in the future, I'll do a dedicated video on this as we get closer. But the adoption of decentralized identity is something that myself, this is David Schwartz saying it, and Shala and the broader RippleX team are especially passionate about. Well, considering they've been working on digital identity solutions since 2014, I would think he's been pretty passionate about it. A lot of people don't know that, but since 2014, that's what he said they've been working on. And he said it in 2014. And they never really fully rolled it out, but, the standards are there now. W3C has the decentralized identifier, the credentials. It's already all there. And now the piece that the XRP ledger plays is the public golden source of truth. We add the decentralized identifier as the amendment, and then that is one of the core pillars to self-sovereign digital identity. And self-sovereign means what? You own your own data, you get to choose who could see what, and there'll be one entity who you trust, who basically vouches for you that you are you. But you don't have to show all your data. People sign up to all these exchanges, give all their data away. And then Gemini gets hacked and people's emails get lost and everything. This is going to give us so much more privacy. So be careful. This community tends to create narratives out of speculation because they don't read. The decentralized identity amendment is going to give you a lot more privacy of your actual account too. And in my view, now not all digital identity is like that. Like there could be, scenarios where some countries like China, where it's really bad. But this is, based on self-sovereign digital identity. In my view, David Schwartz is, DIDs will become the gold standard for secure and sovereign identity verification. And this may well see institutions gravitate towards DEXs drawn by their superior security and transparency. This shift could mark a pivotal moment for the financial industry as DIDs empower institutions to engage in decentralized finance, DeFi, with greater confidence and control, thereby fueling growth and liquidity in DEXs. This integration of DeFi with institutional operations will mark a new era in blockchain, merging privacy, security, and financial innovation, RippleX is excited to contribute to this development by introducing decentralized identifier DID capabilities to the XRP ledger as outlined in proposed XLS 40D amendment. So there's currently the three big amendments that are currently under voting right now are the AMM, the X-Chain, X-Bridge sidechain amendment, and the decentralized identifier. X-Chain, X-Bridge amendment, which will then allow for the launch of the EVM sidechain. Huge. I mean, I just hope everyone realizes, and I'm gonna, as we get closer, I'll do videos on that stuff, because that's a significant extension of the ledger. There's a massive DeFi ecosystem that's going to be built upon these three things. They're the foundation. And then all the apps and independent DeFi applications will spin up, from a Notice, from Panos, to Orchestra Finance, to DexFi, and many others. And then you'll see with the EVM sidechain, a lot of Ethereum-based dApps get ported over to that sidechain, and also opens up the whole Cosmos ecosystem, because that's what it's a gateway to. EVM sidechains, EVM networks, and Cosmos networks to bring decentralized manner those assets onto the XRP ledger, and XRP to move onto those networks in a decentralized manner. That's lacking right now. We don't have any TVL. There's no usage on the network. So don't expect the price to do anything. It's all speculation. So there's no reason to get in a huff. I mean, what are you here for? If you're listening to these videos, then you clearly know that we're getting close, but don't expect anything in the short term. Like, it's all just price pumps. And even this next cycle, Monica Long says that she sees the end of the boom and bust cycles this year. So they're predicting that that's the end of them. And I don't think it's necessarily the end, or if it's going to be this one, but I do think that and we say, oh, the institutions are coming. What are the institutions coming to do? I'm asking everybody. They're not coming to buy the tokens. They're not coming to use XRP and ODL. They're coming for tokenization. And you might say, oh, well, that doesn't impact XRP. And it absolutely does. And it's creating an ecosystem. And we need stablecoin issuers. That's going to be a big one. But first, they talk a lot about smart contract capabilities. And this has been a reoccurring theme. Because once the EVM sidechain's live, you might think, oh, well, there's a bridge there. You got to move over it. That's all going to get abstracted soon. So you'll be in an application. You won't even know what network you're on. It won't even matter. All you need to know is what financial application or activity or execution you're doing. That matters. If that's on EVM sidechain or XRPL, it doesn't matter to you. It's XRP. Or you're using the asset in a way that you're borrowing against something, or lending something, or trading something, or using a derivative in something. Those are the types of things where things get more and more abstracted away. This idea of the one ledger, and that's over. It's going to a modular, multi-ledger, because no one chain can do everything. And you don't need one chain to do everything. The XRP was not built for just payments. It's a value exchange combined with payments. People forget that. And we're getting smart contracts on the side chains. We have hooks, which is layer one, a little different. So what do they say here about this? I found this interesting. Interoperability is already something many in the industry have begun to yearn for, and understanding to be a necessity for progress. By 2024 and beyond, the advancement of blockchain interoperability protocols will mark a major shift by breaking down the existing silos between different blockchains. This shift will enable diverse blockchain platforms to seamlessly interact by sharing data and value transfer, creating a unified and more efficient blockchain ecosystem. The role of interoperability protocols will be crucial in its transformation, as they will increase innovation as well as foster new applications and use cases, specifically in DeFi. Does everyone notice how many times he mentions DeFi compared to how many times you hear it from somebody in the community?
I do think that like institutional DeFi is going to grow over the next 1 to 3 years, but I think it may be helpful to define sort of like what I mean by institutional DeFi, because it's one of those terms that people throw around that people might have, different definitions of. What I mean is DeFi projects built on decentralized layer ones that are aimed at institutional requirements and use cases. Like, just to give an example, you're not going to see institutional adoption of DeFi that doesn't have sanction screening. It's just not going to happen, because these are like strict liability regimes where, like, if you can't not fund terrorists, if you want to do something, and no matter how diligent you are, you may wind up funding terrorists, you're just not going to do it. Right? But like, it's never going to get institutional adoption if it doesn't have those capabilities. So what I think we're going to start to see are DeFi applications that can preserve as much of the they probably won't be able to preserve like 100% of the benefits of decentralization, but they will be able to preserve the benefits of sort of like guaranteed fairness to the participants. They will be able to preserve the benefit that there won't be somebody who has the legal right to sort of take the system and leave, and shut it down and leave with it. I think we're going to see those types of systems over the next couple of years get institutional adoption.
Very few. The team at RippleX believes the outcome will enable more accessible, robust, interconnected blockchain landscape, driving mainstream adoption and unlocking the full potential of blockchain across various industries. The team is particularly excited about the cross-chain bridge amendment, which is in the voting process. Another point of excitement is enabled by the cross-chain bridge amendment, and that's the EVM sidechain. The EVM-compatible sidechain marks an intriguing development, offering a bridge between the XRP ledger and Ethereum ecosystem. And we're going to listen to a clip now from the Blockstars podcast, where he talks about the EVM sidechain with their partner, Persist, who's an infrastructure builder, who's also working with them on CBDC pilot with the Colombian government and central bank. So these are premier infrastructure providers based out of Spain.
The main reason to do that is for different applications. So, for example, gaming, metaverse, or even some DeFi protocols, all this kind of application that requires a little bit more of custom logic on chain that can be very verifiable and transparent. Then it's important that we have a place to put all this. XRPL can have it through amendments, but it's a more complex process in terms of scalability, and smart contracts can be a very cheap and fast way to bring these things on chain while being on the XRPL ecosystem.
For example, you could build an XRP collateralized stablecoin very quickly on the sidechain, whereas building it on the main chain would be very complicated, and you'd have to get a consensus that it's a benefit to the ecosystem as a whole, whereas it might just be useful for something you're doing.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
It's a big advantage that on the EVM sidechain, you can build something because it's useful to you, whereas on the XRP ledger, you have to convince people that it's useful to the ecosystem as a whole. It's a different set of trade-offs, has different advantages and different disadvantages, plays different use cases.
The general idea is to enhance the utility of the XRP ledger by essentially having additional ledgers that sort of literally sit to the side of it. It's if you put those things on a side chain instead of on the main chain, and you make it sufficiently painless for the side chain to interoperate. Obviously, if the side chain is its own world, then you lose some of the benefits of the main chain. But if you can keep them sufficiently connected, then the people who want DeFi can have DeFi on the side chain, and they don't degrade the payment experience for people on the main chain. So the idea is to have more transaction capability, keep fees low. And I think the coolest part is there really is currently no good way for people to innovate right at the lowest layer, like in the blockchain itself. Big on sort of scaling at the blockchain layer. I think right now people can't really innovate right at the blockchain layer, and technologies like sidechains and some of the zero knowledge proof stuff will enable people to innovate more sort of right at that lowest layer and enable more scalability. Just getting more people into the ecosystem, I think, is the biggest thing. Like, we have to create user experiences that are compelling to people, and I'm hoping that we can do that. On the XRP Ledger side, I'm hoping the AMM amendment will eventually activate. Decentralized identity doesn't seem all that controversial, and seeing things like carbon markets and tokenized securities,
and the future of zero knowledge proofs and succulent, non-interactive arguments of knowledge, snarks. So for Anchala, it is already clear that ZKPs and snarks will also gain mainstream recognition as essential components of blockchain technology. Their adoption will become a standard practice in blockchain projects, showcasing their versatility in addressing scalability, interoperability, and privacy challenges she outlines. And Chala believes that the future of these two components in three hugely important areas. So take note of these three. This ZKPs, I believe, are one of the groundbreaking technologies that are going to completely uplift people like Elizabeth Warren, for example. Like, everything that she's trying to do with bring KYC and crush the industry, zero knowledge proof just flips it on its head, because it could do things that we never could do in human society, where you could get privacy, transparency, and cryptographic verification. And that's something that's never been possible. So you could prove you're 18 without having to show your birthday. That's just a very simple example. That's what you mean by that. And that's very powerful, because everybody wins with that. Banks want that. The institutions want that. It's less compliance. And the regulators ultimately will want that too, because it's all could be verified. You don't need all this reporting and all this. We're moving from account-based to token-based. So I think we need to keep that in mind when people say we're early. And when you hear that, that's why. Because you're in a transition. There never can be a flip of a switch because of this reason. Account-based to token-based. The whole financial system, everything's going digital. But we're an account-based. Money doesn't move, it's just credit, debit. But these are actual money moves with tokenized fiat, stable coins, crypto, real-world assets. You could use real-world assets in DeFi and use it as collateral, like Zoe Cruz said. If you could use it as collateral, it has more value. One other thing I forgot to bring up, David Schwartz is speaking at ETH Denver. So ETH Denver is like the apex of Ethereum. It's like their biggest event. Even though they have multiple events, that's their biggest one. So just to note that, like, he's going to be speaking there. XRP Ledger is going to be appealing now. This is where the communities come together. And there's a lot less tribalism in person, is my understanding, than you see on Twitter. And this is a good thing. So I understand that there's some, legitimate things that, people who were early in on Ethereum did that were maybe shady. But the overall community, you need to let go of the bias, drop it, stop being a maxi, and no, Ethereum's not a security. You do not want Ethereum to crash. EVM is the standard, and now we're going to have a whole chain dedicated where XRP is the native asset. So, we embrace it. That's the idea here. And the XRP ledger still does what it does. So it's like XRP now gets a whole nother chain with a whole nother set of applications, same as it is on the root network. That's what drives value. This idea that institutions are going to come in and use this on some RippleNet abstracted away somewhere, that's not going to raise the price. We see it hasn't. And we'll keep saying that. So anyways, back to ZKPs, which are really cool. And they are complicated, but once you understand, all you need to understand is what they're capable of. And these are the three things. So I'm not going to read through all of them, but just know. Improved scalability. So this is a big one that usually people don't associate with ZKPs. And this will improve transaction throughput and reduce computational overhead. And this breakthrough is particularly crucial for FIs handling large volumes of transactions and paving the way for efficient and scalable blockchain networks that meet the demands of institutional grade financial processes. And here's another one that you wouldn't think: cross-chain interoperability. The integration of ZKPs and SNARKs will drive significant progress in cross-chain interoperability, enabling secure, private, and compliant communication across diverse blockchain networks. This enhanced interoperability fosters a more connected financial ecosystem, allowing institutions to leverage different blockchain platforms while upholding privacy and security standards. See, there's not going to be just one, oh, Citibank only adopts that blockchain, or they're only going to use this one. No, it's not going to be like that. We need to get away from that mindset. Yes, the assets will compete, but the underlying networks have different core protocols. This is why implementing them at the network layer, like AMM, DID, the bridges, makes XRP Ledger more valuable and more applications and institutions to use it, because it has the liquidity at the bottom. So these things are rapidly changing. Now, they held a hackathon back in March on ZKPs. I don't know, many people are not familiar with, and it was under the radar, but they've been working on this for a while. And I have a whole folder of video clips of where executives of Ripple have said ZKPs and zero knowledge proofs. So expect that to come.
We can actually build zero knowledge algorithms for any circuit, even one with millions of gates. And so essentially I can submit a proof to you that I know the inputs to make that circuit, like output a particular output, without revealing what those inputs are. That's something that was not possible 4 years ago. I mean, that's a massive new cryptographic primitive that's tremendously powerful. So we can build public data systems in which I can provide proof to you that certain things happened or didn't happen without revealing the information that makes that proof correct. It's groundbreaking, and we need more. We need more.
And it's something that can have significant changes, because there's been a time where, oh, if everything's on the blockchain, institutions are never going to use it. Well, ZKPs also allow you to batch 1,000 transactions into one as a ZK rollup. So everyone's so concerned, oh my God, how can it handle all these transactions that, it's only 1,500 transactions a second. No need to worry about that. Horizontal scalability, innovations like this, no layer one blockchain is meant to scale up. And this goes back to the whole, like, we're stuck in 2020 mindset. But all it takes is a little just like investigating and researching of, well, how can blockchain scale? Instead of just assuming that, oh, it has to have a lot more transactions per second. There's payment channels, there's plenty of different innovations. So here's the third one: pro-compliance privacy. In the financial blockchain realm, ZKPs and SNARKs will take center stage to enhance compliance without compromising privacy. These cryptographic tools will address regulatory concerns, enabling financial institutions to actively participate while maintaining compliance standards.
Again, as it enables this tokenization, is really this compliance area grow. I think that's an area that there's a lot of, again, exciting foundational work in the industry, zero knowledge proofs, decentralized identifiers, but figuring out how we put those together to kind of get to that use case is what I'm really excited to see happen.
Yeah.
And the second area of focus is that we leverage advanced cryptographic primitives such as MPC, threshold cryptography, and zero-knowledge proofs to improve on the scalability, interoperability, and privacy aspects of XRP Ledger.
The stage is set for a transformative year for RippleX in 2024, and these predictions from our experts showcase the team's excitement for what lays ahead. Stay tuned as we embark on a journey to shape the future of the industry. RippleX is not solely predicting the future, the team is creating it. So these are not predictions, ladies and gentlemen. These are what they are building. I think that's just such a powerful ending there, because he's telling you, and David Schwartz wrote this, that this is what we're working on, everybody.
It's great to see more attention on the technology behind the XRP ledger rather than just sort of obsession with a token, because XRP is a token, fundamentally a token. You can hold it, you can trade it, you can buy it, a token is not really an interest, technologically it's not, there's liquidity associated with it and so on, but there's the technology behind a token is not interesting, but the technology behind a layer one, and the XRP ledger was the first non-Bitcoin layer one, every layer one before the XRP ledger back in 2011, 2012 was just, a Bitcoin clone. And so it's exciting to see more focus on the technology, things like the first DEX. Yeah, you're right that institutional adoption of XRP ledger technologies is growing.
Definitely want to pay attention. You're going to have to do your own research. I would not count on influencers to hold your hand through all this. If you want to be a power user and you want to level up, you could join the Mickey B. Fresh Patreon, always. And I don't advertise it, I don't market it, because I don't want a lot of people there. I want people who want to be there. And we have an amazing group, and we are preparing for the time that's coming. And it's very different from what most of these other people talk about. The biggest breakthrough in 2024 will be pioneering compliance for decentralized finance. So I'm Mickey B. Fresh, and I'm out.
So I was always of the mind that this system was going to be ripe for some kind of a disruption. And when I saw DeFi, I started to see where that disruption was going to come from. And I started to understand that this is going to be where it goes. And what I've tried to tell people is, what you need to understand about this new DeFi system is it will start in the third world, and it will grow from there in the second world, third world, and then it will come here and completely flatten you. United States, I don't see us in any way being the leader in this. I think we are going to, it's going to be rammed down our throat, is what it's going to be. And it just occurred to me that this is a brand new financial system, and that this is going to replace the current CeFi financial system. you